Computer. Yep, I think, Ian, we'll start again.
Okay.
With Anne there in front of us. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you all. Paternoster Festival in 2013 was memorable for many reasons, not least of which was a showing of two of Anne's early audio visuals. And since those days, Anne has been central to audiovisual in South Africa, both making them as well as being part of the PSSA setup as president for a while, and then I think just go back a bit here, and then also in charge of the portfolio of audiovisual for the last few years. I think if we can all just turn off our microphones, please. But these AVs, before I get onto that, Paternoster was organized by the Pretoria AV Club, which was a precursor of AV Makers South Africa. And that club came about from a comment by Hein Wascherfort, who said, "Jeff, why don't you make an AV club?" And so I made a club, and that club organized Paternoster. Then we can move on a bit to some of the attendees at that particular thing. You'll recognize a lot of faces there. I will be showing quite a few snaps from the past, all of them with Anne involved in one or other way. But these two AVs that Anne showed were stunning AVs, but they were double the length of what was normal in South Africa in those days. But they were very well received. And I think if we look at the first one, Inside Darkest Africa, this one received the award from PSSA for Our Natural World. And I think this is the time to just mention that these audio visuals, all of them were collaborative productions, Franz and Anne together, and they brought their own specialities to the AV. Franz, I think what stands out is the poetry that he writes, his own unique poetry for each one of the shows. And for Anne, I think it was the searching and finding the right little pieces of music all the way through, so that it wasn't just one piece of music, but she would dig around and dig until she found lots of little snippets that were together made up the soundtrack of a particular AV. So that was Inside Darkest Africa. And then the next one is Mozambique, a few photos again. The Paternoster Festival was held in a workshop. They called it a workshop. It was some sort of a garage thing, which they cleared out all the cars and just had the tools on the wall. We can move on a bit to another one with Anne and France, and then Mozambique. This one also got a PSSA award at the National Salon in 2015. If we can move on to the next one. Yeah, we've got these two AVs. We can show them if there's a request, but they are long, 20 minutes and 23 minutes, and we're not going to play them as part of this morning show. But the retrospective is going to include the last three AVs, which Anne made with France, and they were a formidable team. There we are in Lady Brand in 2017. Lady Brand was another central focus point for audiovisual. And there we have Jas and Di from Australia, who joined us that year. carry on. Silent Cries is the first one we're going to look at. This one has got the most awards in its life, including that medal in the middle there from AV Makers, a gold medal for the Emotion International theme, as well as FIAP ribbons and COMs from the RPS and so on. The award that impressed Anne the most was that one from Coupe Lumière, where they won the image trophy as well as the audience vote, even though there was no subtitles, no translation, in English as it was, and it still got the audience vote. That is how strong this audiovisual was in that competition. So I think what we're going to do now is Ian's going to play the AV, and I've just got to pause the recording. And then after that, we're going to allow a few minutes for some recollections. There are 3 places where you can give your comments as you would like to. Let me see if I can pause this. It looks like it's that one. Any comments? Anybody would like to say anything about Silent Cries?
I just want to say that's one of the best AVs I've ever seen. Amazing.
Thank you.
I remember, Jeff, when at Congress and talked about how they went about photographing the whole sequence and the daring areas and stunts they had to pull to get some of these images, and how they were nearly robbed at one point. And I said to Anne, I wouldn't even dare think of going there where you've been. They really had some narrow escapes in the making of this movie, but yes, also one of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, they took an armed guard with them for a couple of the photographic trips.
The story I liked very much was, I think it was Franz saying that he had to come racing out of one of the areas very quickly because he'd obviously upset 1 or 2 of the people in there. Anne was outside with the car, so he dived into the car. Somebody was already grabbed hold of his camera and they were pulling him out and so on. But eventually he managed to sort of get the mob off him, slammed the door closed, shouted for Anne to drive off. And she drove off at speed and then suddenly came to a stop about 100 yards on. And he said, come on, what have you stopped for? Come on, come on. He said, oh, I can't go on. The robot, the traffic lights, they're on red. And they all came to a screaming halt because Anne obeyed the red traffic light.
Yeah. It's certainly a very powerful sequence and wonderful words to go with the images.
Yes, the commentary was done by a professional person, as far as I remember. And I think just about everybody's been chasing after this person to just get that beautiful, beautiful voice. That was amazing.
I enjoyed the fact that there was the similar tone throughout of those dark blue on the sort of the outside or the perimeter of the main subject, and then the subject itself himself was lit.
It's Jenny and Malcolm here. We thought that was absolutely amazing. So thought-provoking, yet beautiful, but quite sort of eerie. We haven't got any words for it. It's just fantastic.
All right, let's move on. Thank you for that, the G's. Where do we go next? Let me just get to the right screen here. Okay, Tears from Heaven was specially made for one of the AV Makers theme competitions. Our theme that year was water. And this is the AV that Franz and Anne put together. It won the first place, a gold medal for our water competition, and also got a 5th place at SITA. I think we can play it, please. Well, there you are. That is the second one. All AVs that are made with wings have to have escape pressed twice to get out of them, unless they're MP4s. Any comments? There is Anne and Franz being presented with the AV Makers Gold Medal.
Well deserved.
Thank you.
There's so much emotion and beauty in both these AVs. One can just stare at it with awe. Thank you.
It's the first time that I've seen that, Lyndon. I've seen that AV, really powerful, beautifully produced, and you couldn't fault anything in it. It was really excellent.
Thanks, Edgar. Just a few apologies. Franz Jesche is having trouble with his computer, so he won't be able to join us. So it's a good thing that we are recording. He's just been in touch with me by phone. And then the current president of PSSA, who is a member of AV Makers, has a very important meeting on this weekend, and he sent his apologies as well. Anybody else that you know of who would like to have been here and can't be? I know Bruce is looking at flowers in the Cape. He probably can't join us. All right, let's move on to the next one. The third AV, Mysterious Vendor, after a few photos of lunchtime at Lady Brand. And there we've got the Brexiteers sitting in the front row in 2018. Good, Mysterious Vendor. Again, got a prize for the sound from Coupe Lumiere, as well as South African awards, including the Memorial AV Salon of 2017 in memory of Reg Ansel, and a silver medal from PSSA. So let's have a look at it. Thank you, Ian, for that one.
Remarkable.
Let me just talk a little bit and then we'll give some time for comments. One of the awards was the Reg Ansel Memorial. And here is Anne and Franz together with Reg's wife, Amy, that many of the South Africans will know. And then there's some more photographs at that prize giving with some of the committee members, and the plaque that we made for that particular competition. I think there's another one, isn't there, Ian? Just a few more photographs of Anne. And we end up with September 2019, which was the last Lady Brand before COVID hit. And we hope we'll get back to Lady Brand soon. We're all missing it very much. In the front row are Australian visitors of that year with Anne and the rest of the crowd. Thanks, Ian. What happens next? Okay, time for comments. Who was saying something about awesome?
Well, we haven't seen this particular AV either, and it was incredible. The production values were superb. The soundtrack, it had so much depth to it, and there were some fantastic techniques used throughout, but they were so subtle that they didn't take over the actual message that came through. So it's absolutely fantastic. The creativity, both in the words and the images, was superb, and we very much were impressed with that. So excellent.
Thanks, Linda.
Jeff, it was myself that said it is absolutely remarkable, not only in respect of this, but all the ones that we've seen. Thank you.
I think speaking from the South African point of view, I think we've been particularly blessed to have had such talent as we've seen exhibited here with both Anne and Franz. And I think we've all been privileged to see their work this afternoon, this evening, whatever it may be. And I think we will always, whenever we perhaps come across one of these audiovisuals of theirs, or even just without seeing them, remember Anne in particular with great fondness, because she was so talented, so vibrant, and such a lovely lady.
And she did so much for audiovisual in South Africa. Sorry, I interrupted somebody.
I was just going to say thank you, Jeff, for giving us the opportunity to see three such amazing AVs, all very thought-provoking and so beautifully crafted, just amazing.
Hi, I'm Nolene, Anne's sister, and it's really great to hear all the fantastic comments about her work with Franz Jesche. I'm just sorry he's not on the call, but just in terms of the vendor presentation, I do remember that in the years that they did that, they actually had to form a very, very close bond with the people, which they did over the years of travel up to vendor. I remember them going there on many, many occasions to build that relationship, to enable them to do this AV. And yeah, the result is absolutely amazing. And as you've all alluded to, it really, the result, the end result was well worth all the years of travel. So yeah, those their AVs really, really did turn out well.
Thanks, Nolene, and I'm glad you could join us.
Yeah, thank you for the invite.
Yeah, no, Franz has got problems with his computer, but we will give him a copy on a memory stick so that you will have that.
That's great.
Can I add something as well?
Sorry?
One of the things I wanted to say about this is the three sequences we've seen. You know, it's very difficult to produce one masterpiece. Two masterpieces, even more difficult, and yet three, one after the other, of that quality, unbelievable.
Thank you, Edgar. No more comments?
Only just to say, Jeff, you mentioned at the start that you do have the 2 more sequences, which I know you're not going to show today, and they are longer sequences, but I think and I'm sure a number of other people here would really welcome the opportunity to see those. I have seen one of them before, but I'd love to see them again. And I just think one of the delights of AV, particularly in this age of digital, is that they have been kept, they're saved, they're digitally available, and like today, they can be seen around the world. And I think after the considerable time and effort that the authors will have put into making these AVs, it's only right that we have as much opportunity as possible to see and admire. And I could comfortably see those 3 again, because I think first time you see them, you sort of see something, and each time you certainly in AVs of this depth, you see more and more. And I think it is delightful to see them, and I think it's credit to you and to the South African AV workers that we're able to see them today. So an opportunity at some stage in the future, Jeff, to see those 2 longer AVs would be great.
Thank you, Howard.
And to see these again we'd be grateful to see these again, Jeff, if you could arrange it.
Yep, we can. Yes, we can think about that. There's quite a lot of organization goes into it, and maybe this is the time to thank Ian for such a really slick show. He's done a wonderful job playing the AVs and cutting it back to the text and the photos that I sent him. It's gone on really well. But yes, maybe we'll think about October for showing the long AVs. We have a speaker for September already, and we can think about October. But thank you, Howard. We'll look into it.
Jeff, as I mentioned earlier, it's the intention of the RPS to have this safe and secure area where AVs can be seen for people that have passed away. And I wonder whether or not we could make some sort of contact to see whether that would be possible with these. They're just too precious to lose.
That's fine, Edgar. I will make contact with Franz, and I will see what we can do. And Ian already has the AVs, so if he could just hang on to them and not destroy them immediately, then they will be available for the archive if we get permission.
And just a word from myself and Linda in the background here. It was our great privilege to attend Lady Brand 3 years ago and to meet Anne and everyone else from the South African community. And let's hope and let's look to a positive future when that can happen again in the future. But looking back, it was our privilege to be in the same room as such a great AV worker. And that's something we will always remember. And to be reminded of that through these AV sequences today and the others which we're going to see hopefully in a few months' time, I think is just a fantastic way of remembering someone who contributed so much to our genre of photography.
Thank you, Alistair. I just want to end with a couple of marketing shots. Remember our AV salon for 2021 with a very positive theme. We always have a theme like the water and the emotion that you've already seen. The theme this year is yes, and the closing date is the end of October. So please get on with it and get your AVs ready. Let's have a bumper entry this year. And then we come to the next talk that we're going to have. Where are you going? What is going on now? Something about Zoom. Is that you?
No, someone else has signed into our club account and it's kicked me out, but I should still be available to run this.
We could just do one more. This is coming up in 2 weeks' time. We will have Alan Tyra talking about adventures in AV. Don't ask for the link. You will get the link in due course, the usual way, either by email or it will be in our next newsletter and then also by WhatsApp. So we're looking forward to Alan. I know he's in the audience there. Would you like to say something, Alan, about what's going to come up?
Yes, yes, I'm looking forward to it. I tend to make a variety of styles of things, but I'll discuss some of my thinking and how I go about things. I've not finalised which sequences yet, but I'll try and show a variety of work. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Alan. And then I think the last slide is just to say thanks very much to Ian for all the work he put into making such a slick show, and to the various authors for their photos. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. If there's nothing else anybody would like to add.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
It was a
Yeah,
wonderful
thanks.
tribute
Thank
to
you, Jeff,
Anne.
for organising it.
Thank you,
Jeff.
Bye. Thank you, Jeff.
Very enjoyable.
Thank you. It's a plezier.
Yeah.